Let's preview today's Spurs-Hawks game. And are the players on notice?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the San Antonio Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy MLK Day. Hope everyone's going to have a good day off. Got some Spurs action very early today on the afternoon in Atlanta. So Spurs are getting it done early. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you a personal supply of 5 antibiotics to treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at Jace Medical and use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's JASEmedical.com. What are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at, obviously, today's game. Give you a quick preview. And then we're going to bring in our guest, James Pledger of San Antonio Sports Star. We're going to be discussing if the players are on notice. Recently, Popovich mentioned how during a rebuild and where they're at right now, that they're evaluating the locker room, the roster, who's going to stick moving forward. So we're going to try to see this roster, look at it and be like, all right, who's sticking, who's not sticking? What did Pop mean by that? So we're going to be discussing that in just a few minutes. Hey, you guys are the everydayers. We thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. And about today's game, let's go ahead and dive right into this. The Spurs are coming into today's game 7-31, and the Hawks are 15-23. Now, rewind the clock a bit. The Spurs are coming off a home loss to the Bulls, 122-116. Spurs just recorded 8 turnovers in that game, but they shot 39% from the three line. Wemby did not play due to load management, but Tre Jones had himself a game. He had his career high 30 points, 9 assists to lead the team. Sohan had 11 points and 7 rebounds. Keldon Johnson added 26, and Devin Vassell had 5 points. All this in the win. As far as the injury report, Dominic Barlow and Doug McDermott are questionable today, so keep an eye on that. Wemby will be playing. The Spurs, for those who are in Jersey watch, they'll be in their City Edition jerseys today out in Atlanta. All right, so what are we looking at on the court? Let's start off on the Atlanta side. Now, keep an eye on Bogdan Bogdanovic. For 34 games played this season, he leads all reserves in the NBA in points per game, 17.2, made field goals per game, 6.1, made three-pointers per game at 3.2, and ranked second in steals per game in the league at 1.5. So keep an eye on him off that bench. We'll see how the Spurs handle that kind of firepower from Atlanta. Now, the former Spur, DeJounte Murray, keep an eye on him as well. He's averaging a career-tying high, 21.1 points per game, but he is shooting a career best, 47% from the field and 39% from the three line. So the former Spur could have himself a field day against his former team. Now, also, there's home cooking for Atlanta heading into today's game. The Hawks have won the last 2 straight games in their gym. So, again, keep an eye on that. Now, for the Spurs side of things, the good news is the Spurs are really valuing the ball. I talked to Doug McDermott about this recently, and first of all, the Spurs have 6 games straight of fewer turnovers in their opposition. And Doug told me a big reason for that is Tre Jones kind of steadying and stabilizing the team whenever he's out there. So keep an eye on that. The turnovers, the Spurs are doing a really good job of that. That'll, reduce those second chance opportunities for Atlanta today. So, 6 straight games of having fewer turnovers in the opposition. Way to go, Spurs. And keep an eye on the scoreboard. Believe it or not, the Spurs are actually undefeated on the road when they're leading after the third period. They're 3-0. So if you see the Spurs up at the end of the third, that could be a good sign the Spurs can get themselves their 8th win of the season. We'll see. Coming up next, we'll have James Pledger, San Antonio Sports Star. We're going to be discussing whether or not the Spurs players are on notice and who might those be, who those players may be. That is coming up next on Locked On Spurs. I just want to talk to you about Jace Medical. Look, I know we come to sports to escape some of the crazy realities of life, but can we just talk for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin, right in the worst flu season in over a decade. That's just scary. So I can't imagine feeling helpless than if, say, my family, my parents, my friends got sick and there's a supply chain issue that kept them from life-saving the medication they needed. Thankfully, they're okay, and they will be okay if that situation does happen because of Jace Medical. They got the Jace case. So this is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jacemedical.com right now. Complete your physician encounter. It'll be reviewed by a board-certified physician. Your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important right now to prepare for than today. Go to jacemedical.com. Use offer code LOCKEDON. Get yourself $20 off your order.
Hey guys, this is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are listening to a Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. It's morphin' time.
And we are now joined by my good friend. He is James Pledger with San Antonio Sports Star. Follow him on X at @IamPledger. And apparently he must... Did you get resurrected by the Dragon Balls? Because it looks like you got a halo above your head.
No, no resurrections this time, as Thanos would say.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, make sure to follow him on X at @IamPledger. He is the guy, the go-to guy for all things sports, not just Spurs. So make sure you hit him up on X. We'll talk about his show later on, Extra Innings with Pledger. Well, he'll brag about that in a while. But first, did you know that apparently Popovich listens to you on Locked On Spurs?
I'm flattered. I'm glad that we are his go-to source for everything Spurs right here on Locked On Spurs. So appreciate it. Hopefully I'm his favorite guest. I know I'm his most quotable one. So
there you go, for sure. So why is James here? Well, in case you can't read on the screen, are the players on notice. Now, why do we bring him back? Because the last time he was on, we were talking about what phase of the rebuild the Spurs on. And Pledger brought up a good point that maybe on the talent evaluation, the roster evaluation, and lo and behold, what does Popovich say after the win versus Detroit? Well, that they're in a rebuild, that Detroit's doing their thing, we're doing our thing. And by the way, part of that thing is to look at which players that, quote, stick on the roster and don't stick on the roster. I couldn't believe it when I heard Popovich say that. Shot a message to Pledger. I go, look at this. And Pledger started doing this.
I mean, you're welcome.
All right. So Pop said it. He pretty much said it, that's part of their plan right now. I take it you're not too shocked by this, obviously.
No, I mean,
no.
It's just putting the pieces of the puzzle together, which we've been trying to do, me and you, for the better part of since we found out they got the number 1 overall pick. I mean, that was the lottery, not even the draft itself. Like, we've been kind of trying to figure out roster configuration this entire time because the NFL, the NBA handles things ass backwards from the NFL. They do the draft and then free agency. While in the NFL, they do free agency, then the draft. So at least for the Spurs, part one was, all right, well, how are they going to build around Wemby? They do nothing with their money except, like I said, extend Devin Vassell right before the season starts, like I said. So that was their big move. That and extending Trey Jones. Those were their moves. All right, so step 2 of it was, all right, how does Wemby fit? All right. We've never seen anything like them. They don't know what to do with them. Wemby says, don't put them in a box. They weren't gonna. They were going to let them do a whole bunch of things. They eventually narrowed in on center. Zach Collins moves to the bench and then gets hurt, and I haven't seen him in like what feels like 12 months. And he starts sticking at the 5. His production goes up from the 5. He gets the youngest to ever record a triple-double, second fastest. Ever recorded triple-double at 21 minutes. It's his first of his career. He's doing all of this in such limited minutes, too. That's the most incredible thing about it. So they found out where he fits. Like, okay, now what fits? That's the part where what fits. Well, it's hard to tell right now. They've made the move to put Trey Jones in the starting lineup. This is what, 3-4 straight starts for Trey Jones?
Three starts, yeah.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
So Trey Jones, which we've also called for since early, finally in the starting lineup. Offensive production has gone up, as has Wemby's production as a part of that. Whether he's the long-term starter, that remains to be seen, but we're also starting to hear the rumors and rumblings of DeJounte Murray. Could he be a possibility? Yep. They've explored the possibility. So now it's what fits around him. It's obvious that Devin is a fit around him. They're going to build around that. Trey seems to fit, so they've stuck him in the starting lineup. Sohan is a 4. I like what I'm seeing. I don't hate it. I know he's gotten a bad rap because he's been playing out of position for most of the year. I like it. We'll figure out exactly what happens at the 3 right now. That's Champagnie. Not sure if he's the long-term starter, but you're looking for players like that know their role, basically. Pop also said the focal point was when the offense win, and he had the triple-double. Like, the focal point of the offense was Wemby. I'm glad you figured it out in July.
January. Was like this.
We've only been talking about this since the ping pong ball landed.
Yeah, exactly.
He needed to be the focal point. So that's another change that they're making, is running the offense kind of through him, which it's about the fit around him now. And so everybody's making their case. Keldon's making his case to, be a part. He's been very impressive coming off the bench.
He sure has. Yep.
So it's all about fit versus long-term future and what the Spurs' goals are moving forward, and how quickly do they want to expedite what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm glad he said that too, because he's letting the players know, like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, he's letting the players know, like, we're watching, and it's also kind of, you read between the lines, a message to the fan base that we're still in rebuild. A lot of Spurs fans thought, like, hey, we got Wemby, playoffs, play in, here we come. Well, pump the brakes a bit. I know the Spurs started off the season saying win, baby, but they weren't out of the woods yet. Wemby was a good, I guess, plow truck. Yeah, like through that forest or through that tunnel to get out of the woods, but they're not out of it yet. So I like that. But this is not the first time he said this. He said this to close the season. Remember when he said Zach Collins is probably the only one that'll likely be back? He mentioned that. So, you fast forward to just a few days ago against the Pistons, Pop said what he said. So a lot of the fan reaction was positive. A lot of the fans said, yes, that's what we want to hear. The fans are starting to see, like, it's an incomplete.
Just be honest with us, man. That's what we want. We don't need the charades or anything else, and we don't need you to tell us you're having a great time. It's okay to be pissed. We're pissed. But
I wish he said
this. What's going on?
I wish he said this during media day. It would have taken the sting out of the start of the season if he had literally said, "Yeah, here we go. We got Wemby, but we're going to evaluate talent." I would have.
And it's not just the fact that he didn't tell us to start the season. Maybe his honest intention was, "Hey, we're gonna really go for it at the beginning of the season." Things started not going the way you thought. Like, it's okay to let us know. Like, we understand that plans change, and you may have to make an adjustment on said plans at some time. Just don't treat us like we're stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was a little shocked, but not really shocked when Pop said that. If anything, I felt like a sigh of relief. Just like, okay, that is going to make me. It's going to make me, swallow those big pills of L's, through the season. Okay, fine, I get it. They're looking at talent, and who knows when there could be another lineup change down the road. I wouldn't put it past Pop to see the talent they have on the roster. I wouldn't be surprised if Trey Jones gets back on the bench and Malachi, you're running point. I wouldn't be surprised if
Blake Wesley, maybe
all those
Devontae Graham, we finally get an appearance.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody's on notice outside of Wemby and Vassell. Is that safe to say, or would you say Vassell is also on notice as well?
No.
No.
Wemby, Vassell, boom,
Boom,
everything
we're
to
done.
the left.
Yeah.
You're on notice.
All right. And speaking of notice, we're going to ask Pledger which players are on notice. He kind of gave us a hint right now, but which players he would like to see stick on the roster and maybe not stick on the roster next season. Coming up next on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. The NFL season, well, the regular season is all but done. They got the playoffs going on, but it's still time to get in on the action over at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get themselves $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. So that's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Look, there's no reason for you to not go get the FanDuel app right now. That app is so easy to use, so many different ways to bet, like live same game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explorer Hub. You can even make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. The best way to find the popular parlays. There's so many other ways to do it. Spread. I mean, seriously, they got it all at the FanDuel app. You want to go visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today and make that first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we're back on Locked On Spurs with James Pledger. Follow him on X at I am a Pledger. He's with 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star, host of Extra Innings. We'll talk about that later. And the only man ever, I mean ever, to make Perfect Cell quake in his boots. How did you do it, Pledger? How did you do it?
I mean, I just let them know what was up. I was like, you may be perfect, but I'm Pledger, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're Perfect Cell. I'm Perfect Pledger.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's rock and roll.
The alliterations is the double P.
The double P, yeah. So
players on notice, baby.
Players on notice, right. So you gave us a good cliffhanger right now. You said Vassell, Wemby, you're on that side. Everybody else is on the other side. Okay, now let's look at those that are on the other side. Which players do you think would fit long-term with this roster? Well, with Wemby and Vassell, I should say.
I think Trey fits.
Okay,
Trey's
so
an obvious fit.
So come on over,
whether
Trey.
It's starting, whether it's coming off the bench, he seems to fit and understand. I want Keldon to fit.
Me too. I think he can if he just is he okay long term being.
It's about staggering and providing punch when Wemby's not in the game. That's Keldon's. That's what he brings to the table. If he has to be a piece to bring in a more cohesive piece to the puzzle, I understand it. And outside of Vassell, he is your most valuable trade piece.
Zach Collins, what do you think about him?
You need a dog on your team, and Zach Collins is a dog. Like it's plain and simple. Like he does the dirty stuff.
Yeah. Collins, come on over to this side.
He's basically Draymond Green for lack of a better comparison right now. I mean, he's willing to do all of the little things that need to be done, including getting in on people to where it makes them uncomfortable and maybe do something stupid from time to time.
Sohan, this is interesting. Sohan. This is the one piece where I'm like, oy. I mean, what kind of value does he have though? What value does he really have to make another NBA team to be like
NBA, right?
We want him.
He was still second team all rookie, right? So he was second team all rookie. He was number 8 pick. There's still value there.
It's not high value. I don't think it's unprotected first round.
No value. I think there are teams that see what he does and what he brings and see the value in that. Look at what he did for Baylor. I mean, he was incredibly valuable. He was a sixth man, but he was incredibly valuable to the overall cohesion of the team. and what it brought. He can bring that to somebody else too, and he can bring that to the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, over the past few games with him at 4 and not at point guard, I don't hate what I'm seeing out of Jeremy Sohan. I think he fits. If he's a piece that has to happen to get something, like, look, just because it's the only thing that's kind of been out in the ether, let's say DeJounte is a deal, right? If you got to throw in some picks and they don't want Keldon, let's say they want Jeremy. Is that a deal breaker for you?
I mean, they both can fetch you something better. If it's about fit, they both can fetch you a better piece to fit with Wemby.
I mean, what happens if they're asking for Jeremy and 3 firsts or something like that? And I know it's steep, but and they say we'll throw in DeAndre Hunter.
Too steep.
DeAndre Hunter's former number 4 overall pick.
I know, but 3
he's a
first rounders.
He's a
plus
4 that stretches
Sohan
out, unlike Sohan. He's a guy that can play the 3 or the 4, can stretch out the floor, and he does dirty work, man. He does little.
I would give up that if it's going to be a quality point guard. No knock on Trey, but if it's going to fetch you maybe not
a quality point guard in your mind then.
He is, but I don't think he's 3 first rounders plus Sohan.
What did the Spurs get for him?
Oh, well, that's Atlanta. That's on them.
I'm just saying,
on them. They tripped up
because I'm not throwing in the pick swaps on top of it like they did. Like they threw in 3 firsts and swaps.
Yeah, they unloaded.
So I'm just saying you got to give a portion of that back.
Yeah.
You still got some of it.
What about,
like I said, what if DeAndre Hunter was made a part of it? All of a sudden you're getting a point guard and a 4, but you're giving up kind of young talent for other young talent that's just maybe not working out, and see if fresh scenery helps either of them.
Yeah. Going down the roster, then you got, your Malachi's, your Blake Wesley's. I think you still keep them on the other side. You keep them there, not on the Vassell Wemby side, because they could be good added pieces in a deal. So I think you keep them on that side of the floor.
I mean, they're a part of the team, and like a lot of these guys, everybody that I said on this side past Devin, you are a part of the team, with the caveat of you can't help us get something else. Like you could be the piece that another team wants that helps to spur something.
Right. And you know what could be a piece that definitely could fit moving forward is a guy like City Sissoko, and maybe removing one of those guys, opening up that playing time. We'll throw him in there. If it's about fit, as Pop said, and who's going to stick, then give the kid a shot. So perhaps you keep Sissoko on the Vassell Wemby side.
I mean, he's by no means guaranteed to be there. Like I'm putting there is a hard line in the sand that nobody's allowed to cross outside of Devin and Wemby. Like that, there's a hard line in the sand. Would I like to see him get some opportunities to see what his actual fit is? Absolutely. Will we, as the season gets closer to the end? I think so. After the G League season ends and as we get closer to the end of the regular season, I think that's, late March, early April, we could probably start to see him called up and given opportunities, getting more minutes here and there.
Yeah. So, it's going to be interesting because I don't expect this roster to be the same next season at all. I don't think it'll look mirror. I mean, they did it twice already in a row, last year and this year. It's practically the same roster. The scene maybe right there at the point now they don't see it working. So I look with the DeJounte thing. Sure, it just happened to be DeJounte pleasure, but I'm just glad that they're looking for a point guard. At least that tells me they know that that's an issue. and it just happened to be DeJounte, okay, fine, happy to DeJounte. But if they were to say, if the report came out and said it was Mike Conley or Drew Holiday or
Malcolm
whatever, yeah, for sure, fine. So I'm glad they know what the current assignment is, get a quality point guard. So I hope that will be the biggest change moving, maybe at the trade deadline or maybe in the offseason. Spurs can't afford it. We know what they got in their piggy bank. They got a lot of stuff they do. Use. So
I've got a question for you before we get out of here. Since we've brought up DeJounte's name a handful of times, you remember how it ended.
Yeah, it wasn't.
You have the receipts.
We have them.
Would you want him back?
Yeah, I would be okay with it. Yeah. If the deal were to be made and the Spurs announced, okay, we traded for DeJounte Murray, I'm not gonna be mad at it. I'm not gonna be mad at it. Well,
in terms of we are we are handling Victor Wembanyama with kid gloves, right?
Yeah, that they are.
And I mean, there's no doubt about it. He is being handled with kid gloves this year.
Mm-hmm.
DeJounte didn't like what happened, popped off on Instagram, blah, 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 blew up the team, goes to, a strip club and starts wilding out on IG Live, right? Right?
Yeah, he did. We saw it.
Seemingly burns bridges, although they aren't burned, apparently, for every time he comes back to town. And the Pop seemingly have a very cordial relationship still, the same way he does with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
But things aren't going as well as initially thought they would in Atlanta, and now he is trying to get his way out of it. Do you want to bring in a guy that wants out of and gets his way out of most places anytime he wants and have that be an influence on a guy that you are treating with kid gloves?
I mean, it is the NBA. A lot of players get what they want now. It's a player-driven league. So,
but
I'm
not
too surprised
San
by.
Antonio.
Well, I mean, maybe it's trending that way. I mean, Kawhi's did it.
Victor can't get 24 minutes. He's not getting what he wants.
But that's their new toy in the toy chest. That's the top shelf of the line new item they have, and they're protecting that. I think DeJounte knows what it is to be a Spur, so I think he'll keep that chill. I don't think now if you were to say, let's just for argument's sake here, like there's a guy like a Steven Jackson out there. I mean, no. I think DeJounte would at least have a respect for what the Spurs are about.
It was a legitimate question because we tend to have these questions when we talk about disgruntled or people that hop team to team or force their way out of teams with other sports and franchises, yet there's such a desperate need for talent in San Antonio. It feels like a lot of us are overlooking the fact that that's exactly what DeJounte has been doing his last couple of stops.
Yeah. Again, I wouldn't be mad at it if they were to pull the trigger. I think what would tick me off is if they gave up way too much for him. They did the Atlanta in reverse back to Atlanta. I'll be like, okay,
3 and swaps.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, basically what Atlanta did.
You seem mad about the 3 firsts. I didn't even include the swaps.
Yeah.
So what is too much?
I think a lot of unprotected stuff, because look, even if he comes, does that still push the Spurs over the edge? Is he that missing key to now they're out of the rebuild? I don't know if they're out of the rebuild.
Well, they're not out of the rebuild this year, but their cap space next year dictates how out of it they are, I think.
Yeah. And look, ultimately, I don't think it's going to happen at all this trade deadline. I just don't see it.
And Atlanta's not in a hurry.
Yeah, they're not in a hurry, and we know how Clutch operates. They're going to probably want
4 years left on that deal. They can sit on them, try and move them in the off season.
Yeah, and but hey, you know what? if this is any lesson you're learning right now, everybody, is that even between me and James, that changes could be coming, whether it's this in season or in the off season, because Pop all but said it. We're looking at the players to see who fits and who doesn't fit with the team long term.
I'll go one step further. I'll guarantee changes are coming.
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you. It's coming. Well, like I said, whether it's the trade deadline or in the off season, changes are coming. Or so. Buckle up, Spurs fans. Don't get too attached to some of your favorite players, because as Pledger mentioned, and I agree, outside of Vassell and Wemby, it's fair game.
Everything's on the table.
You're calling for Keldon? Okay, what are you offering? You're calling, for Malachi and Zach and all those guys? Sure, Jeremy. We're listening.
I mean, what happens at the deadline if somebody calls with more picks, and I don't know, maybe it's like Kuminga, like Golden State wants to add to their second unit. Yeah. And they think Keldon can be the offensive off the bench that they need to weather storm.
Yeah.
Are you saying no? Are you hanging up?
No, I'm not hanging up. I'm listening.
I'm going
to listen.
Moody, Kuminga, they've got they've got young pieces that you could get in return that are cost effective and controllable, plus picks probably. I mean, I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't hang up the phone. I'd at least listen.
Yeah. You know what I would never say no to is hearing James Pledger brag about extra innings. I would never say no to that. Well, he is James Pledger with San Antonio Sports Star. Tell us about extra innings. We need to know.
Well, Extra Innings is my show. It is weekday nights from 6 to 7 right after the Blitz. And, it's a hodgepodge. We talk about a lot of things on that show, from nerd stuff to the Texans, the Cowboys, the Spurs, college football as a whole, and what's going on with Nick Saban's recent retirement and how that's going to affect the landscape of college football moving forward. I mean, nothing's off the table. The other day I went on a tangent about how I think the Bears are the most intriguing storyline for an NFL franchise and what to do to build a team moving forward, because they have a guy that's knocking at the door of potential and upper echelon quarterback, or the chance to pull the plug and completely reboot on it with another young quarterback. So, I mean, it's anything and everything on Extra Innings with Pledger. Nothing's foul. See what I did there?
I see what you did there. All right. Well, again, follow him on X at I am Pledger. By the way, James, in case you did not notice, there's a couple of new additions to the Nerd Wall. So I'm going to put it on the big screen. I'm going to put it on the big screen.
Outside of Jinxie there.
You got Optimus Prime dunking on me. You got Optimus Prime dunking on me.
Yep. You got Air Prime.
Air Prime. And then look at that. Look who's making her debut. RC.
Yep, down at the bottom. I saw that under Iron Man.
RC. There's RC. So we always nerd it up here on Locked On Spurs every time James is on. Again, follow him on X at I am Pledger. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things silver and black. And we'll figure out who's going to come on. It'll probably be another good guest as always. Hard act to follow, though, when you're following James Pledger to start off the week. So good luck to the next guest. And so, again, follow us on Locked On Spurs, YouTube, Cans 5 Plus app, Spotify, iTunes, and subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Yeah, exactly. Do that for James, too. Follow him on X as well. And Locked On Sports has Locked On Network has a new show, 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports on YouTube. The national hosts, regional, local hosts, we're all there 24/7 every single day. Locked On Sports Today. Make sure to subscribe to them on YouTube. So for James Resurrected Vegito Pledger, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.